here in Stillwater.
His wife.
No, they're going to be our mayor. All right, good evening. Welcome to the September 24, 2018 regular meeting of the Stillwater City Council. We have a couple of different agendas tonight. We're going to start with our regular meeting, and I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I will ask you all to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Takes us to item 3, the consent docket. Councilors, questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Uh-oh.
Yes.
There we go. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved. I should note that Councilor Wedlake had pressing business this evening, and it looks like you're going to get to sit in both seats tonight.
I know.
Councilor Jablonski.
The good mic's over here.
All right, that takes us to item 6, resolutions. Resolution CC-2018-18. Mr. McNichol.
There was a report last week, or last meeting, and I believe you have the resolution.
Yes, the resolution is prepared that will adopt, this resolution will adopt the fee structure that you approved at last week's meeting.
Okay, thank you. So this is resolution CC-2018-18, a resolution amending the City of Stillwater Development Services Department rate and fee structure. Councilor, comments, questions, or a motion?
Motion to adopt, approve.
One or the other.
Resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution CC 2018-18. Please vote. Well, that was me we were waiting for. With a vote of 4-0, the resolution is adopted. All right, item 7, reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report tonight, sir.
Mr. McNichol.
2 items, Mayor. Thank you. Here's an update on the electric utility distribution automation project. Crews are working with contractors to improve network connectivity and are deploying controllers in the northeast part of town. And implementing distribution automation technologies into our electric distribution system will help improve the reliability, service quality, and operational efficiency of our service. One other item, Mayor, as the council is aware, I have been inundating you with information on recycling. And the fact of the matter is that there have been many, many changes in recycling in the last couple of years, the most significant which is China enacting what was known as a green fence law, which is turning away any contaminated recyclables because a majority of recyclables were shipped to China, where they were turned into additional projects or products. Two, the recycling industry has not been able to find a market for a whole lot of those recyclables. The products that are manufactured from that recycled material are cheaper to make from brand new material. And so we're faced with a dilemma that hopefully will be solved when the waste management rate study is completed later in the year. From time to time, we're highly criticized about what we take and what we don't. Why don't you take bags? Walmart does. Well, they're willing to pay somebody to get rid of them. The fact of the matter is that it's possible in the future that even if citizens who are really behind recycling, and the city is, wanted to pay much higher rates to recycle, we may not be able to get rid of those products at all. And so there was an article from an out-of-city resident who had been using our facility on 8th Street in Sunday's paper, and I think that they have not received the bill inserts and the social media things that we've sent out and the press releases that we've sent out trying to educate people about why we have so drastically changed our recycling program. We have because we simply cannot find a market for it, and there are places around the country where paper and cardboard are stockpiled, with somebody hoping eventually that market will return. And I think I misstate. Cardboard, I think, is still marketable, but some of those other plastics are not. So if that evoked any questions, please let me know.
Yeah.
And I would also mention that if anybody has questions about that, we have an expert on that here in the person of Chris Knight, who is our waste management manager. And you can call the switchboard, ask for him, and he would be glad to talk to you at length about recycling and the issues involved therein. And you will be hearing more about this in the future, particularly when we do this rate study and management study that helps us determine what we're going to do in the future.
It's kind of frustrating, and it doesn't feel like quite that a single person can have quite the impact as writing a letter to the editor or calling one of us, but the pressure perhaps on producers of packaging material and people who, send a tiny something in a great big box and 10 tons of wrapping paper, if we could have more emphasis on contacting those people in some way, shape, or form. I don't know exactly what, but.
Yeah, we need to focus on buying recycled content to make sure that there's a market for recycled content so that we can sell the stuff that we're trying to recycle to somebody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's important for people to understand that we don't just, picking up recycling has costs, transporting it somewhere has costs. In the past, people have been willing to pay those costs because there's value in the stuff that they're picking up. That stuff they're picking up no longer has value. And so someone now has to bear the cost of picking it all up, transporting it, getting it somewhere, storing it, as the case may be with plastic, which is just sitting most places waiting for somebody to buy it. I think it's a good thing that we're doing that rate study, and we are going to have to decide as a community what's the best thing for Stillwater when it comes to how do we get rid of recycled materials in a way that's responsible, but also recognizes that costs are real. So thank you for that update.
Thank you.
Anything else from you?
No, sir. Thank you.
Councilor Zanotti?
I do. I have enjoyed being able to see who the new individuals are for the City of Stillwater team, and we have 3 new ones. Merle Pierce Jr. is with the Water Treatment Plant Maintenance Mechanic. Anthony Riccio, Operations Entry Maintenance Worker, and Matthew Sample, an Operations Entry Maintenance Worker. So welcome to the City of Stillwater. We're glad you guys are here.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Darlington?
Yes, we are looking for volunteers. Sounds like a really fun project. On Saturday, October 13th, it'll be a beautiful fall morning to glue decals onto storm drains. Decals helping to remind people not to dump toxic chemicals, dirt, grass clippings, and more into a storm drain. Volunteers will meet at the Stillwater Public Library at 10 a.m. You may find out more information on the city's website.
It's also important information for folks to help understand that when grass clippings, dirt, all that stuff gets pushed out in the street, it all goes into the storm drains, and then that's why sometimes storm drains don't work as well as we want them to, because they're all full of stuff that's not supposed to be there. So that's
Right.
a good reminder to put those stickers out and help
Maybe
people.
we should glue decals to curbs where grass clippings are collecting.
Please don't blow your grass clippings out into the street.
Yeah.
Councilor Jaleski?
Well, I guess I'll do Counselor Wedlake's as well, since I'm
good.
sitting in his
Two.
chair. Mark your calendars for the fall household hazardous waste collection. The event will be on Saturday, October 20th at the Convenience Collection Center. You can bring items like oil-based paints, pesticides, herbicides, cleaning products, pool chemicals, fertilizer, and more for free and proper disposal. And more information for that is on the city's website as well. And the Friday Food Trucks and Tunes event is scheduled for Friday, October 5th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in downtown Stillwater. This is our makeup event for September 21st event that had to be postponed due to rain.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, that takes us down to item 9, appointments to the Stillwater Reinvestment Plan Implementation Policy Committee. This was a popular application to send in, which is a good thing. We got 20 applications for our 4 community spots on this new committee, which again is wonderful to see that many people interested and wanting to take part and to participate in this review. It also makes our job a little bit more difficult to go through and to make good decisions about what we want to do with appointments. I will say just at the outset, personally, I think what we want to do with this committee is provide a diverse group of folks from the community, to provide folks who are going to be thorough in examining projects, who are going to really work hard at answering the question about whether these projects are a good investment for Stillwater. And I think having a wide range of views on that topic will be good. Will be the better way to handle that. So I will open it up a little bit for discussion here at the council for your comments, either folks that you saw applied that you feel would be great for the committee, or just general comments on what you'd like to see in general. And then we'll wrap it up by making some nominations and getting some appointments made. So councilors, anyone want to go first and discuss what you'd like to see in the committee?
Sure. I would reiterate what you said, Will. Great list of people. And some temptation to just draw 4 names out of a hat.
Which would end up with probably 4 qualified folks, because
Yeah.
it is a good list. I don't think there's anybody there that we would.
It's a great list, and it's a list of people who have been involved in city activities, and I have not seen them at this level of interest, so that's really exciting, which kind of takes me to a piece that you didn't mention, terms for these people. I mean, this is not a life assignment, so those people who are not chosen to be on the committee this time will certainly have an opportunity next time. And also, when this committee does meet, it will be an open meeting, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And so anyone who has an interest in projects that are going through this implementation committee have an opportunity to go to those meetings and at the very least observe, and perhaps there will even be an accommodation for comments. I had a hard time, and I was committed. We were only choosing 4 people. I was committed to having 2 men and 2 women. I like the diversity of that, even though it's kind of manufactured. And I was looking for people who did have some history of being involved in city things, whether they were city committees or leadership Stillwater or the Humane Society, or what other kinds of things would show that you were had some commitment to the city outside of, but it's hard to put everything. I mean, it's hard to quantify that. It's because then again, I wanted to have different people also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Jeremy Bale was on the original committee. I think that makes sense for him to have that continuity. I was trying to think about conflict of interest. I can't think about, nothing really struck me as a conflict of interest. And of course, if there was a conflict of interest in a project that was requesting funds, that person would recuse themselves or leave the committee or whatever.
Yeah, I think the policy, I think we should adopt for that is anybody who was to request or was planning to request funding from the TIF would be required to resign from the committee prior to making that application, so that we wouldn't have that concern. Other counselors with comments or points to be made?
I took a little bit different stance than Vice Mayor Darlington in that I wanted definitely diversity, and I wanted individuals that were for the TIF and then ones that had a lot of questions and a lot of questions about it, because I think that that provides a really good opportunity for conversations, and it also makes sure that the applications are looked at closely and that they do meet the guidelines and things like that. And so I really kind of looked at that list, at the list that way. And there were some definitely that stuck out with me because they had started from the very beginning. Jeremy Bale's one that definitely stuck in my mind. John Killam is another one that I thought of, as he is always had a lot of questions about it, and so that was another name that stuck in my mind. You want us to give names that we?
It's up to you.
How do you?
If you feel like you'd like to make comments, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, any comments that you have would be helpful, and then.
Okay. I also, Tracy Corbett is another one. Tracy is someone that has not been as active in the city before, and I kind of like the fact that maybe this tweaked an interest for him. And certainly he had a lot of questions and challenged some things, which I liked. And so I thought of him also.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Jaloski, any comments from you?
Yeah, so I think I maybe had an in-between approach as I was looking at folks. I also think it's really important to bring some diversity in opinion and background to this committee to make sure that projects are well vetted and well thought out and well just questioned. I guess from my planning background, it was also important to me that we had some folks that were maybe interested in some of those kind of bigger picture type projects. Some of the folks that came through, I think, had some experience with maybe bigger type projects that might have some insight to bring to these types of projects that might come through with the TIF. And anybody that was kind of focused throughout the application on just kind of talking about some of those types of issues from a planning background, or having been involved in city planning, or having kind of taken note of some of those planning type issues. I also agree some consistency with Jeremy I think is really important. I think having somebody that's been through the process up until now will provide some continuity in that process. And then I also think I would like to see the diversity in male, female, just to, again, provide that diversity.
Okay, well, I appreciate the comments, and I think there's a broad range of agreement in terms of trying to find a good group that works together and that brings different viewpoints to the table. I certainly agree and share that viewpoint. Because I get to sit here, I think I get to be the one that actually names some names and says I'm going to nominate a few people, and I'm going to take all that input into consideration in doing so. I do think Jeremy Bale is a good person to have on to continue. He was a member of the review committee, so he understands what this TIF says already. He was also a very, I think, active and I would say critical is not maybe the right word, but someone who really did look into it and ask a lot of good questions about the process as we went forward. And so I think having him continue is a good choice for us to make. Councilor Zanotti, you mentioned John Killam. John was asked a lot of questions in the process, came to some of the office hours, provided us with comments on the implementation policy, and had some questions about that and how it was going to work. Definitely wasn't the biggest fan of the idea of incentives in general, which is fine. That's certainly a viewpoint that many people in town share. I think having someone with that diversity of opinion on the committee would be helpful to make sure that these projects are vetted well, that we're not just sort of rubber stamping things and saying, yeah, let's do it. So I think John would be a good addition to the committee. I think Susan Arrington was one of the applicants. I liked Susan's application because for a couple of reasons that might be counterintuitive. One is she's relatively new to Stillwater, has been in other places in her life and seen other things, and has been in Stillwater for a couple of years. I think that's some value to bring to this committee that, again, different viewpoint, hasn't seen how we've done things around here forever and just wants to continue that, but will bring a bit of a fresh perspective. She's also a representative of our retired community here in town, which is a large group and folks who have a somewhat different viewpoint than folks who aren't. And
We'll have
and
a great viewpoint.
Absolutely. So I thought that her viewpoint might be a valuable one on the committee as well. And then finally, I think Mark Blakeman, who is the executive director at the Performing Arts Center on campus, or on the edge of campus, would be a good person to have involved. He hasn't been involved in projects like this before. In, I think, Nashville, when they built their center, he was the executive director there and took a very active role in the development of private entities around that center as well. The public funding was being used for the center, but private investment and being involved in what needed to develop around there to make that center successful. His experience there, I think, would be very valuable. And with that center being such a large part of, I think, the public attractiveness of the area around it, I think it would be very valuable to have a viewpoint there about what needs to happen to make that whole area successful. So that's my list of nominations. I'd like to nominate those 4 folks for this committee. I think in view of what you said about terms, I think we would like to set those all as 4-year term or 2-year terms, excuse me. Just sort of have enough time to be able to get up to speed and run the first few projects through this. We don't really know how many projects they're going to be looking at, right? We have a couple that have been proposed at this point. We've already talked about the movie theater in town. There may be some other projects that are on the table or that will be on the table soon for them to review. But this is a strategic project plan. This is one of the things we've talked about the whole time, is that we're putting this out there as an option for folks to develop. We're not sure what that response is going to look like right away. We've had, with the theater and other options that have been proposed, a lot of big projects actually, it seems like it's going to be effective, but again, we don't know, exactly how that's going to look over the next couple of years. So we want to give them enough time to, to follow a few of those things through and get up to speed. But we also, we want to be flexible because this is new for all of us in town. And so, changes, may be needed, and we want to be able to do that. So in addition to those 4 folks at 2-year terms, each of our 3 taxing jurisdictions, Meridian Technology Center, the Stillwater Public Schools, and the Payne County, who also represents the Payne County Health Department in this setting, will each have a representative. We're going to ask them to name the representative that they'd like to have to represent their entities, also for a 2-year term. And that will make up the 7 folks who serve on this committee initially. So those 3 representatives named by the taxing jurisdictions, plus Jeremy Bale, John Killam, Susan Arrington, and Mark Blakeman. I will make those nominations now.
Okay. Second.
All right. Well, we have a nomination and a second. Is there further discussion, questions, comments? Anybody don't want those people and want to propose somebody else, or we're good? All right. Well, let's vote.
Okay.
Well, you can make
I
comments.
just hope that we see the rest of these people, because they're, even just in a paragraph, applications were really interesting, and a lot of different reasons for being interested in being on the committee. So,
absolutely, and I think it's really important to note that. I mean, there are folks who own businesses downtown. There are folks who have been involved in real estate here in town. There are folks who work at the university who, it's a very diverse group. It's a very, again, I think a group that we would love to have come to the meetings and talk and bring the issues up that they see. So this is a community review committee. There is we're not going to have a mass vote on everything, so we have to have a few folks that are appointed to make those decisions, but we do want to have the community involved. Certainly all of you that applied, even if you didn't apply, please, keep up with those things. I'm sure Michelle from the News Press will be keeping up and letting you all know what's going on with the committee, and follow that and be involved and make your comments and let them know what you think as well as these projects are going through. Okay, we have a nomination and a second on the table. Please vote. Thank you. With a vote of 4-0, those nominations are approved.
Do we have to vote separately for the term?
No.
Okay.
Mayor, would you like us to contact those folks and try to set up a orientation meeting for the next week or so?
Yes, yeah, if staff could get in touch with them and start to get schedules together so we can get that meeting. We do have projects ready for them to review.
Thank you.
All right, I think that completes our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the city council meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the Stillwater City Council meeting is adjourned. We'll take a brief break here. We're going to have a joint meeting of our City Council and Planning Commission after this to discuss general issues, and so please feel free to stick around if you would like to, but we're going to move down here to the tables to conduct that meeting.
Are you curious about what's going on in the city? Or maybe you've seen construction around town and wondered what it will be. Chances are we have a project page with all the information you're looking for. Just go to stillwater.org/projects. Here you'll find a list of categories for both city and commercial projects that'll help you narrow down your search. And it's that simple. You're now on your way to finding out about the ongoing improvements to our city, what's being worked on, and what's to come.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Money Mondays with the City of Stillwater. My name is Megan Kasak. I'm the Communications Coordinator here at the City, and we have a special guest from the Stillwater Fire Department today with us. We have Stillwater Fire Chief Tom Bradley and Deputy Fire Marshal Steve Sylvester. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, Megan. Hello, Megan. How are you today?
Doing well, and thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having us.
We went out to Fire Station 2 back in May, I believe, and we took a tour of that facility, and now we're back to talk to you all about more events and more public outreach that you kind of want to tell people about fire safety, and starting out with Fire Prevention Week. So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about what Fire Prevention Week is and what the city does?
Yes, ma'am. We've got several activities planned for this year. It all started back in 1871, the Great Fire of Chicago. And during that fire, the fire started October 8th, but most of the lives were lost on October 9th, which was 300 lives, and 100,000 people were left homeless because of this fire. So every year we have a Fire Prevention Week that starts the week of the 9th, since that's when most of the lives were lost. So the NFPA comes out with a theme every year, and this year it is Look, Listen, and Learn. So we will be going out to all the elementary schools, and we're going to be educating them like we do annually. We've got a skit ready to educate them on not just the Look, Listen, and Learn, but we do 911, Stop, Drop, and Roll, and several other activities. We also go to all the daycares We do a truck show and tell and a safety talk with all the kids, and we're real excited about this year, but we also are doing stuff throughout the year. We have a lot of activities planned. Fire prevention is very important to us. We look at from our code enforcement to our activities where we're meeting the public to even station tours. Our guys do a great job, and they really look forward to it.
Fantastic. And you all were talking a little bit earlier about you all do business inspections as a part of fire prevention?
Yes, ma'am. We do over 1,600 inspections a year. We do them annually. We go to each business. We do our inspections. We work with the public on getting them corrected. It also helps the guys getting out, familiarizing themselves with each occupancy. So if they do have an incident there, they know where the hazards are, and they're doing pre-plans on each of these businesses.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you want to add about this event, or just kind of things for people to keep in mind to be fire safe?
We're really looking forward to our poster contest. I left that out. So every year we do about 3,200 posters that we get out to the schools. And once we get those out, the kids draw. We have OSU, they judge them, and then the winners get a T-shirt and then a ride to school in the fire truck. So that's also exciting.
Oh boy, the stakes are high, but an awesome prize. Wow.
Megan, I think Steve's probably being a little bit modest in what the fire marshal's office does when it comes to fire prevention education. We have some records that go back to 1958 where we were doing in-school fire prevention programs for the Stillwater Public Schools. And we also have to reach out and say thanks to the Stillwater Public Schools for allowing us to be a part of their processes and allowing us in to do some fire prevention with the students there. But it couldn't be done just with the fire marshal's office alone. There's two people that are dedicated to the fire marshal's office.